Good morning, children. Welcome back to the English class. Our unit tests are over, and we all must be very happy with our marks. All of us have done very well. Let us give us a clap. Now we have to start studying for the terminal exams. From your real English book, we have already done lesson 1, 2, 3, and 5. We had left lesson 4. Today we are going to start with lesson 4. The title of this lesson or the story is The Story of the River Ganga. I'm sure all of you have heard this name, River Ganga, and today we are going to learn about this river. The Ganga is considered to be a holy river by the Hindus. Now, why is it considered to be a holy river? Because most Hindus believe that the Ganga has descended down from heaven. First, it was only in the heaven, and later it descended down to the earth. So, it is considered to be a very holy river. People, they go and they release or put the ashes of their loved ones after their death because they think that in this way their ancestors are going to get salvation. Now, what is salvation? Salvation is, according to our World Bank, being saved from harm after death. They believe that no harm will come to the person who has died and whose ashes have been released or put in the waters of the river Ganga. So they go and immerse the ashes in the river Ganga. Now the river Ganga has also become a cause of environmental concern. That means it has become very important to prevent pollution in Ganga. People have polluted Ganga, and this has led to many environmental issues. Now, this book has many stories, but this story is about Hindu mythology. It is taken from Hindu mythology. Now, what is mythology? We have myths, which are stories about our past, about heroes and legends and other important events in the past, but these may be false. These are just some beliefs of people which cannot be proved. But most of the people believe that these myths are true, and so they have been carried down the ages from generation to generation. Now, this is a story of a little boy who wanted to find out why the Ganga is considered holy. Now, in our story, there is a little boy and he wants to find out from his grandmother why the river Ganga is considered to be a holy river, to be a sacred river. This story has many stories inside it. It has a number of stories, one after the other, which tell us about River Ganga. So you have to be very careful when I'm reading the story. Please read it with me, and then I'll explain some important things to you, and I'll ask you also to explain to me in the live class. So everyone has to be very, very attentive. Now let us start the story. Ishan and his grandmother were sitting and talking about Indian culture. Culture I don't need to explain because culture and tradition come again and again in your SS book, so everyone must be knowing what it means. And if you do not, please go and find out. Ishan suddenly remembered seeing in a TV program a lot of people praying near the ghats of the Ganga and releasing the ashes in the river. Now, this little boy, Ishan, suddenly remembered that there were many people, a lot of people praying on the ghats of the river Ganga and releasing the ashes in the river. Of course, the ashes are the ashes of their dead loved ones. He also recalled that the river was very dirty. Now, people were releasing ashes, they were praying, they have so many things which are put in this river. Now, that made this river very dirty. And Ishan remembered very clearly that when he went to the river, this river was very dirty. He wanted to find out about it and asked his grandmother. So he wanted to find out more about this river, and so he asked his grandmother, why do people pray on the banks of the river Ganga and throw ashes into it? He was very confused because on one hand people pray, they worship river Ganga, and on the other hand they pollute the same river. If you respect and worship something, you are not going to make it dirty or you are not going to pollute it. But it was very, very confusing for this little boy to understand, because on one hand the people were praying on the ghats of the river Ganga, they were worshipping river Ganga, and on the other hand they were releasing ashes and polluting the river. Grandmother replied. Now, hearing his question, grandmother replied, the Ganga is a holy river and people release the ashes of their dead kin. Dead kin means dead relatives. So the grandmother told Ishan that the river is a holy river and it is considered sacred by the people and they worship it, and people, they release, they take the ashes of their dead kin, that is their dead relatives, and put it in the waters of the river Ganga. Why? What was the reason? So that their souls may find salvation. Because they believe that if they release or put the ashes of their loved ones in the river Ganga, they are going to find salvation. They will have no problems after death. They will not be harmed after death, and they will get a good birth if they are reborn. I remember mother saying that salvation is the rest of the soul after death. Now, Ishan also remembered that his mother had also mentioned that salvation is the rest of the soul after death, so that the soul doesn't have to worry, it is not harmed, no harm comes to the soul, and it finds salvation. Why? Because it is the ashes, it means the ashes of the dead kin are released in the river Ganga. Now, you please think for a moment. If Ishan remembers people polluting the river by putting ashes, what in what other ways do people pollute the river? There are many, many more ways that the people are polluting this river. Please think for a moment and you can write some points in your notebook. Yes, factories, industries, then you have the farm waste, all the garbage of some cities. So many things are put in the river Ganga and this causes pollution. According to legends, now legends again are stories about great heroes which have come down to us from our ancestors. It is passed on from generation to generation. So, according to legends, the Ganga was in heaven but was brought down to the earth. Now, grandmother starts telling Ishan or narrating the story of Ganga to him. She says that the Ganga was in heaven but was brought down to the earth, and this made it a holy river. Because it was only in the heaven, people brought it down. Now we'll learn later who brought it down to the earth. And when it came to the earth, because it was from heaven, anything connected to heaven is considered holy. Because only good people are there in the heaven, and so anything connected to heaven is holy and pure and sacred. Long, long ago, there lived a king Sagar in Ayodhya who had two wives. Now she starts telling the story of a king named Sagar in Ayodhya. He was the king of Ayodhya and he had two wives. Now, what were the names of his two wives? Kesini was his first wife. His first wife was called Kesini, and she had one son, and the name of the son was Asmanjas. You'll have to remember all these names. These are Hindi names or names taken from Hindu mythology, and you have to remember the correct spelling. What was the wife's name? Kesini. She was the first wife. How many wives did the king have? Two wives. How many children did they have? Of course, the first wife and the king, just one son. What was the name of the son? Asmanjas. He was very cruel. However, Kesani's grandson Anshuman was kind and brave. Now, Asmanjas, that is Kesani's son, was very cruel. But then his son, that means Kesani's grandson, was very kind and very brave. So now we come to the second wife. Sumati was the second wife. This king Sagar had two wives. First one was Kesani. She had a son Asmanjas, and Asmanjas had a son Anshuman. Now Anshuman was kind and brave. Asmanjas was cruel. Now we come to the second wife. Sumati was the second wife. Now, can you believe this? The second wife, called Sumati, how many sons she had with King Sagar? It is unbelievable. 60,000 sons. Not 16, 60,000 sons. But they were very proud. Now she had so many sons, 60,000 sons, but they were all very proud, and so people did not like them. Now this is obvious, it is very natural. If some person is cruel to them, if someone is proud, if someone gets angry, the people don't like. So these 60,000 sons of Sumati and King Sagar were very, very proud, and so people did not like them. Now grandmother continued the story. King Sagar became very strong and powerful. Now King Sagar was a very strong and powerful king. He had a huge empire. Now what is the difference between kingdom and empire? Kingdom belongs to a king and empire belongs to an emperor. The territory ruled by an emperor is called an empire. And emperors are bigger than kings and more powerful and with a larger territory as their kingdom. So he had a huge empire. The empire was very big, but he wanted to establish the boundary of his empire and tell people who was the king of the land so that they would not be confused. Now he was very powerful, he was strong, but he wanted the people to know what was the boundary. He wanted to tell them till where his kingdom was so that they do not get confused. And he also wanted to tell them that who was the king of the land. Now, to do this in those days, people performed certain yagya. Yagya is a sacrifice. You must have heard of Rajsuya Yagya, Ashwamedh Yagya, and so many more. Now, to establish the boundary of his kingdom and to tell the people who was their king, the king Sagar performed the Ashwamedh Yagya. Yagya is, of course, sacrifice, and Ashwa is a horse. So, it is also called sacrifice of the horse or the horse sacrifice. Now, what is the Ashwamedh Yagya? He selected a good horse from his stables and let him trot wherever he wanted to go. Now, in Ashwamedh Yagya, you have to select one very good horse, fast and strong, and then he is set free to trot and go anywhere he wants to. Now, the word trot shows the movement of the horse. What is the difference between trot and gallop? I want you to find this out. You can consult a dictionary or ask your elder sister, brother, parents. But please remember to find the difference between trot and gallop. Now, wherever he wanted to go, the horse was free to go. In Interested, Ishan asked, what would happen if someone stopped the horse? Now, Ishan became very interested in his grandmother's story. He said, what would happen if, like, this horse was going here and there and someone tried to stop the horse? Grandmother continued, stopping the horse meant challenging the king's authority. Now, if someone stopped the horse, it meant that they were not ready to accept the king's authority. They did not want the king to be their king, and so they were challenging it. And a fight would start, and then there would be a fight. But anyone who let the horse pass would be protected by the king. Now, there were two things. Either you stop the horse or you let the horse pass through your kingdom. Now, if someone stopped the horse, it was taken as a challenge to the king's authority. And then there would be a fight. And if someone allowed the horse to pass without stopping the horse, then it would be seen as acceptance of the authority of the king, meant that they accepted the authority of their king, and so the king felt that it was his duty to protect the king who had accepted the authority and let the horse pass. However, the gods were unhappy with the 60,000 sons of King Sagara, as they were very cruel. Now, the gods were quite unhappy with the 60,000 sons of King Sagar, as they were very cruel. Now, there is a difference between God and gods. God is the supreme authority, but gods are the ones who are under God or the supreme soul, and they are usually the chiefs or the chief god who has some force of nature. he has to rule over. Like you have Vayu, who is the wind god, Indra, rain god, and Surya, sun god, and so on. So these are the gods. However, the gods were unhappy. And why were they unhappy? Because the 60,000 sons of King Sagar were very cruel. The gods felt that the world would be a better place without them. Now, see, this always happens. If a person is very good, friendly, and very, very affectionate, we want that person to stay with us forever. But if a person is cruel, he's rude, or she's rude, we want that person to go away. We don't want them to stay with us, and we would be happier if they leave and go. Now, the same way, the gods were unhappy because they were very cruel and proud. So, the gods felt that if these 60,000 sons were not there, then the place would be a better place. So, Indra, the king of gods. Now, Indra is the main god, is considered to be the king of all these gods, came down to the earth. But he didn't come down to the earth as Indra or the king of gods. What he came down to the earth as was as a demon. He was disguised as a demon. Now, disguised is when you don't show who you really are, you dress up, you behave like someone else. Now, Indra did not come as Indra, he came down as a demon. Demon, of course, is a Rakshas in Hindi. He stole the horse and hid it. So, as a demon, it would be shameful for Indra to come down and steal the horse. If anyone would recognize him, he would be put to shame. So, what he did was he disguised himself as a demon. He did not let anyone know that he was Indra. He came down as a demon and he stole the horse and hid it, said the grandmother. Ishan asked. Now Ishan became more interested. But if Indra stole the horse, how could King Sagar establish his power? So Ishan says if Indra stole the horse and the horse was not free to trot from one kingdom to another, how could King Sagar establish his power? He wanted to extend his territory, so it was necessary for the horse to go from one kingdom to another. Very good, Ishan. The king was very upset. Now, grandmother was very happy with Ishan because he asked a very, very pertinent question, very important question. So she says, very good, Ishan. The king was very upset. He called his 60,000 sons to go and find the horse. So when the king got the news that his horse had been stolen or it is not found, he called all his 60,000 sons to go and find the horse. Now these 60,000 sons went from one place to another. They looked far and wide but could not find the horse. They looked far and wide everywhere. They looked for the horse, the stolen Ashwamedh Yagya horse. They could not find this horse anywhere. Finally, where did they find the horse? Finally, they came across a wise man. There was a wise man and his name was Kapil Muni. He was deep in meditation. He was meditating. He was not aware of what was going around him. He was in his own world, meditating and very peaceful. The horse stood near him. Now the horse went and stood near this Kapil Muni. The 60,000 sons did not know that Kapil Muni was a sage. Now the 60,000 sons were seeing Kapil Muni for the first time. They were not aware that Kapil Muni was a sage or a saint or a sadhu, and they thought they found the thief. And as the horse was standing near this Muni, Kapil Muni, they thought he was the thief. Now it is obvious human nature. If you see your pen on my table or anything on your friend's table or some classmate's table, you are obviously going to think that this person only has stolen my things, which may not be true. Someone may have picked it up and put it on that table, or she may have found it and she brought it to return it to you. So it is human nature to see the thing, stolen thing, and think that the person near that thing is the thief. The sons ran shouting towards the sage. So they thought the horse was standing near the sage, and what was the name of the sage? Kapila Muni. So he was the thief. And so the sons ran shouting towards the sage. He was suddenly disturbed from his prayers. Now, everywhere it was peaceful and calm, and suddenly it was loudly shouting at each other, loudly shouting at him. And so he got disturbed and he opened his eyes. He could not continue praying and meditating. Now, Kapil Muni opened his eyes and glanced at them. So, not glance, glared at them. There's a difference between glance and glare. Glance is just one look, maybe a short look, and then I don't look. But glare is when you keep on looking at someone with angry eyes. So, Kapil Muni opened his eyes and glared at them. All the 60,000 suns turned into ashes. Now he had done a lot of penance, a lot of tapasya, and so he had got some powers. He could use them when needed. So when he was disturbed from his prayers, he opened his eyes and glared at these 60,000 sons of King Sagar, and all the 60,000 sons turned into ashes. They turned into ashes and became heaps of ashes, small heaps, 60,000 heaps of ashes. Now we are going to continue with the story tomorrow. Please read this part of the story thoroughly and try to find the meanings of the words which are not there in the word bank. They are not explained in the word bank. I want you specially to find the meaning of the word culture, which I told you must have done in your SS lessons. Then legends, LEGENDS, legends. What actually are legends? Then you have to find as much as you can about the Ashwamedha Yagya. And if you can find out the names of some very famous people who have performed Ashwamedha Yagya in the past, then it would be wonderful. Thank you, children. Till we meet the next time and continue with our very interesting The Story of River Ganga. Thank you. Take